find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down in towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's allowed to have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
going down.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
You haven't got it!
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's gonna do it! Big Barry!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the iFormula League's W13 Championship. We continue our voyage around the globe, and we continue it here. Round number 7 takes us to the Styrian Mountains. We're here for the RedBull Ring. 10 corners, 3 back-to-back straights, and a lot of fun along the way. My name is Zach Sweeney. Biggles once again alongside me in the commentary booth. You're watching along here on JP Broadcasting, and, well, we've got an absolutely just an amazing evening of racing action ahead of us. A 50% Formula 1 distance race, followed by the 10% sprint distance race that will equate to around about 42-ish laps of racing action. Plenty to indulge into, and a very, very tight championship battle as well. Championship leader Øyvind Haugland not here today after a late absence. Passes the baton to his championship rival of Gianluca Iliano. 199 points to Øyvind Haugland. The gap back to Iliano, 22. And let's remind you, you get 25 points for the feature race win alone. So a perfect opportunity for the Italian to get back at his Norwegian rival, Biggles. That is a very exciting prospect and quite a bit of pressure, I suppose, onto the Italian. It's could very well be a pivotal moment in his championship fight.
It is, absolutely, and what a track they're doing in, of course, a high-speed RedBull ring with only 2 of those corners to your left and all the rest of them to your right. So taking advantage of that situation you possibly can. Welcome along, everybody, today to the sound of music here in Spielberg, and we're just down to the dying stages of qualifying too, Zach.
We are. We've got a very tight fight for pole position. You can see only a quarter of a second separating Maximilian Thiele and Gianluca Iliano. Troy Banks as well, trying to move his way forwards, but a very close fight as well in that contest for the final spot on row 2 between Jacob Beezer and Alexander Scharner. You can see separated by, what is that, 47 thousandths of a second only between the pair of them. However, as we only have 10 seconds left of qualifying, they're not going to get enough time to put another lap on the board. I think this is going to be how we rack up after qualifying. It will be Maximilian Thiele taking that pole position here with a 105.9. Not a bad lap time at all. And we'll see him, of course, take to the top spot to start this race. Gianluca Iliano on his prime day in order to seize a grasp on the championship will line on alongside him on row 1. Troy Banks, Jacob Beezer in behind 3 and 4. Alexander Scharner and Nicholas Antonenko round off row 3 with Grigor Georgiev and Frank Beezer row 4. Jan Monte rounds off the 9 car field we've got here ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix. 36 laps of racing action, Biggles, and, well, hopefully quite a tight fight with that DRS.
Should be. There should be 3 DRS zones if I'm not mistaken. So we should be going for our first of our races, of course. This is the feature race, and we have we have the sprint race after the feature race. That's one that always gets me, isn't it? But yeah. Maximum opportunity to try to get maximum points in this championship on round 7. The drivers should be ready to form them up onto the grid at the moment, and they are loading at the moment. Hopefully we get all 9 drivers without any technical problems so that they can race the most difficult, challenging, and fastest race cars that you can find on the planet and here in iRacing around this tricky circuit. Oh, it's not that tricky, but it's off limits is the biggest key, isn't it? This track, you can really push the limits, the track limits too far.
Yeah, so I suppose the circuit itself isn't challenging. It's more the racing dynamic that you get at the circuit that is the challenging bit. It's very reminiscent, I suppose, of an oval style race because you spend so much of it so close together, so much so that it is just a really difficult circumstance to be in. The track itself, yeah, 3 back-to-back straights, couple of corners, jobs are good, and off you go. You are right, though, you have got to be very mindful about the track limits. Very easy to add them up. Track limits are going to be one of the big talking points over the course of our first race. 36 laps on the counter. Maximilian Thiele and Gianluca Iliano, the front row. The 5 red lights are on, the 5 red lights are off, and already catapulting himself into the race. Gianluca Iliano with a perfect launch up the hill and towards turn 1. 3 wide in the background, as well as Troy Banks tries to get himself into the mix. It's going to be Jacob Beezer that's actually going to be the one to hang on to it. I don't think so. There's a crash in the background. Thiele's been involved. He, without a front wing, a huge crash as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers all involved. And an early lap yellow flag being brought into the mix. Gianluca Iliano, though, taking an early lead.
Yeah, caution's completely out. It has to be. We got 4 cars that are involved in that accident. We'll go back and have a look at the replay of that, because just like that, isn't it? It all went pearl-shaped into turn 1. And let's have a look to see what happened in slow motion here. There it is. So that's what's caused it. It's come back onto the track, and after that, everybody's just on the loud paddle, isn't it? Straight into each other. So who else was that? Jacob was involved in that too. Bang, it was after, isn't it? Who was the original one that went around? I think it was... It
was Thiele originally, the pole sitter. And then everyone else really just got involved. We've already lost 4 of the 9 cars. There he is, hitting the barrier on the outside. Yeah. There's also someone spinning there, and it is just a chain reaction, one thing after the other, that led to this point. They've all escaped themselves back to pit lane, and then they will take the... and then they'll take the tow, and then they'll repair the car, and then probably be on their way. This is how it happened, though. You can see Thiele there, all on the outside, running wide. There was a bit of contact, in fact. I think that might have been with Alex Shant, or Jacob Beezer, it might well have been. Frank Beezer, in fact. A bit of contact between the two of them. Saw just that chain reaction. So, yeah, they've taken the tow back to pit lane. They'll have their repairs, and then they will... hopefully head back out for some racing action, because, well, we want the field out there driving as quickly as they can. The caution is at the moment, you can see queuing up behind the iRacing safety car. Gianluca Iliano, though, going to be loving life, because one of his biggest pieces of competition now out of this race. He's basically home free to, hopefully for him, score some decent points.
That was the first time we've seen this is the first time we've seen a caution car this season, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And, well, that was a massive accident, isn't it, for a lot of people? A lot of those drivers, want to go back, I just wanted to see, again, from the racing perspective. So here is the man that really gets look at that fantastic launch, and that absolutely just murders off the line. It gets straight back onto the racing line into turn 1. And as you can see, the 3 abreast in the background, and that's where it gets pearl-shaped. Well, isn't it the Italian sitting there looking in his mirrors going, what just happened? He's probably on the team radio going, are they okay? Obviously, if it was real F1, that would be the question that I'd be asking. But in the virtual world, it's probably just got a bit of a smile. Maybe, I don't know, you'd say yes, you'd have a smile on your face knowing you're back into the lead of this race. But second of all, probably going, damn, I really would have loved to have a nice race against Thiele. I think obviously on the front row with him, as well as the other drivers. It looks like Mr. Jacob Beezer is out, my friend. He's retired from the session.
Yeah, seems to be the case. Not confident in order to get himself back out onto the circuit. So will probably be a done deal for him, at least until we get going again for the sprint race. But yeah, Iliano was really helped by that, just that initial really strong launch that he had. Just, didn't waste any time, didn't wait around, just put his foot down and went for it. And got the traction, got the bite, even on the slightly harder medium compound tyre. That uphill run in towards turn 1 saw him take the lead, whereas Maximilian Thiele, unfortunately, his slow start with the butterfly effect found himself now, as you can see, well, in that current state, with the front left missing, the push rod suspension system, the rear wing gone. Same to Alex Shana, not going to be going anywhere any time soon with that. Frank Beezer, his car's looking in a little bit better condition, but probably just waiting for some minor repairs to be done, and then he'll head his way back round. Unfortunately, they would have already lost these 3 laps to the leaders, which means their chance of a decent position in this race probably next to none.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously this is our main race, which is 66% of the real thing, so that's a lot to work out. But then again, I'd say you get it back out there if you can get it fixed as quickly as possible, because just like that we saw on lap 1, you can have another incident, can't you? And you could see maybe another 2 or 3 cars that get taken out or have a little tango with the fence, and then you're back into it, just like that again, if they have to go back into pit road and get some repairs on. So there's your pace car, and the group is there. Pace cars is going to continue to go around, I guess, for a couple more laps. Eventually, I think Frank's come out now. And just checking if everybody else, they've actually all, there it is, my friend. So, in fact, they've all come back out. Just Jacob, that's not. So, wonder if that pace car is going to stay out another lap so that they can bunch up.
Yeah, they'll bring themselves back in line, and then we'll go again once more for to continue the green flag running. How long will we get of green flag running, though, is another thing, because, yeah, that run towards turn number 1, not the most beautiful thing, in all fairness. So they are going to have to be a little bit more cautious, I think, is going to be the aim of the game for this one. Survival is the name of the game, essentially, for this restart, Biggles, because you've got to be in it to win it.
You do. I'm going to get that tyre information up, too, for everybody, of the tyre compounds that they have started this race with, and there it is. So, and again, we had those pit stops already, didn't we? So they've probably definitely taken the tyre changes, but that'll be interesting to see whether or not we're able to make them go to the end, isn't it? We've elected so some of the drivers had started on the softs and take it to the end. So there's the pace car. It's going to stay up for another lap, and they are all bunched up on your screen. The 8 drivers that we have remaining in this race. Frank's caught the back of the pack there. Yeah, interesting now. That'll help you soft runners, won't it? For sure. Because of the fact that they'll be able to go a lot deeper into this race. Because we've had essentially 4 laps under a pace lap. And then safety car essentially make that 5 once we get back around again.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So my sort of prediction really would be that the softs could maybe go a decent chunk of this race, and you could potentially swap onto the mediums. I would say that's probably going to be the general consensus of this strategy. We probably won't see the hard tyres. I don't think we really have ever seen the hard tyres at all, in all fairness. Only a 50% distance race, so you can take the softs and the mediums quite a long way in. Just depends on sort of when you want to do that. But yeah, for the soft tyres, it means they're going to be quicker for longer, as opposed to the medium runners at the moment, who I suppose could go even longer into this race and then push their soft compound tyres harder. But yeah, as it stands, Monty and Tile, who, in all fairness, Monte is probably going to be the only one that is able to benefit off it, because Tile is a lap down and not really going to be able to make best use of those soft compound tyres. But Monte, could very potentially find his way up a couple of places. The top 4, though, all unanimous in terms of their pit strategy, going for the mediums for the first maybe 18, 20, maybe even more laps, and then on softs all the way to the end of this race. But Gianluca Iliano, off this safety car restart, surely his philosophy is just to go in bulk.
Here he is. He's got the getting the concentration under that helmet, because at any time so that safety car is going to peel in, and I imagine it has to peel in this lap now. And it's up to him to control the pace of this. So you saw that fantastic launch he had to get his car into P1, which is probably a very good thing considering the accident that happened just behind him. So you can imagine if he didn't get that jump off the line there, he may have very well been involved in an accident. He could have been the one that's a couple of laps down now, struggling to make his way back up to the field. But that's just the luck of the draw, isn't it? You get in motor racing, sometimes I was going to say a reference to the bar. Sometimes you eat the bar or the bar eats you. But here we go, racing again for the first time. Green flag racing, the second time.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a little bit better off in their single file run. The safety car peels off, and Gianluca Iliano puts his foot back to the floor. Lap number 5 as we embark for round 2, I suppose, of the start this evening. Side by side in the background as Gregor Georgiev and Antonenko fight over what could very well potentially be 3rd place. We have got a little bit of a mix and match, though, with some of the lap cars getting in the way. I think they sort of have settled into sort of a mismatch order where not everyone is in the right places that they should be. Bit of a send in the background as a couple of drivers try to, I suppose, just pick their way through the carnage. Already a driver off, though. It's Monte, I believe. He's had an off, found as well off the track. Troy Banks as well has joined him. 2 drivers victims of this safety car restart.
Wow, just like that, isn't it? Struggling right now, I guess, with those temperatures on the track. There's Troy Banks. Struggling definitely to get temperature into that as our race leader. And let's have a look what's happened. So I think it's, yeah, that you said has come off here. Once again, up isn't a turn 1 up in the hill. Oh, he's locked the brakes completely on the rear. And as it going back around again, what happened here? Well, they've come together here as well. This is where they've come together there, Zachary. So this is the second time around. Has you turned into them? Oh, I don't know.
Just lit up the rears, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. Yeah, Monte has just lit up the rears, put his foot down a bit too quickly. Bit far out of the corner, though, it must be said. I wouldn't expect that to happen. Troy Banks is, again, they're waiting so long to put their foot down. It must be the fact the tyres are just ice cold. Because that is a very long traction zone, and I think he's just finally been able to build up the confidence to put his foot down, only for them to then say, nah mate, not happening. So very spontaneous thing. Is he going to go for the move? He's ducking, diving, trying to find a gap on Monte. Of course, these two were the two spinners of the opening lap, and still settle themselves out in 4th and 5th place. Troy Banks with no way through for now, but yeah, you can see both of them a little bit more tentative on the traction zone outside of turn 3. The undulation, that slight uphill run off the exit can really affect the car's balance when you try and put your foot down.
Yeah, there you can see that. Yeah, you've got to go a little bit more gingerly on the throttle. Now they're a little, I guess, they're a little bit more comfortable with the temperatures into these tyres. See a great battle forming here. Also a great battle. That's nothing that Iliano has to worry about. Just leading this race, dominating at the moment out front. Here's Grigor. And welcome out there, Ria. Raccoon, morning. Yep. Zach and Dean into the booth. How interesting. Yes, you are. Enjoy yourself some F1 motor racing here at Spielberg. And so far it's been action-packed. We're lap 7 of 36, Zach.
Yeah, action-packed is one way of putting it. Welcome in, Ria. I hope you are doing your work. Actually, no, it's a Saturday. I don't even know if you work Saturdays, but fair enough. If you're doing your work, then good on you. But we have got a close fight for second place. It's the iFormula W13 series, and if you do want more Zach and Dean action, we have got the Sim Racer for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship a couple of hours after this. Troy Banks finds his way to the inside of Monte and up into 4th place, though the battle continues as the American fight continues as they run their way down in towards turn number 4. Not quite able to go for the move once more is Monte, as he has to settle in for 5th place. Maybe a couple of spins wearing down those soft compound tyres more than he would have liked. But the battle is, to be fair, staying for quite some time. A late dive to the left-hand side, albeit a half-hearted one, sees Monte lose a little bit of momentum. Gianluca Iliano at the front, 6.5 seconds clear in just the 3 laps that we've had since the safety car restart.
Oh, that's close. I figured that was too close in that one. As where was that in? So we're looking at turn 1 again. I think it was. Was it? I mean, that wasn't at the top of the hill, of course, with the other overtaken opportunity, which is turn 3. Essentially, turn 2 is a kink. Let's have a look at the replay of that. You can see, just come in too hot. It's got a good exit, of course, down the main straightaway. You get that DRS toe, so there's your full speed there. And tries to hit the brake pedal bang and goes round. Very lucky not to knock Nicholas around with it. Actually, I'm so confused as to everybody's kind of all over the place at the moment with those blue flags. I do apologise.
Yeah, it's been a bit mismatched, hasn't it? Because obviously of that early carnage. Not exactly the... oh, cheers, Ria. No, I appreciate it. Don't know how much Zach you can handle. Yeah, that's true. Thankfully, these guys, I'm actually quite nice to. I've had a long week at work, and my Saturday is my time to chill. So I'm not as harsh on a Saturday as I am compared to Monday to Friday, because I just don't have the energy to be harsh to drivers. However, if there is severe skill issues, I suppose, like we have seen in the opening moments of this race, then yeah, there can be sometimes. But I'll let them off because it's easy that these things can happen. I do appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely love you too, Ria. Much appreciated. Thank you for being here. Your presence is greatly appreciated. We haven't got Phil, which is okay. I can deal with that. That actually makes me feel a little bit more happy. That we haven't got Phil. There you can see our race leader, Gianluca Iliano. And talking of skill issues, this man has got absolutely 0. We sometimes wish he would have, because that would make the racing a little bit more interesting. But on a day where Oyvind Haugland isn't around, Gianluca Iliano will, as it stands, be taking the championship lead in just the feature race. He has really been able to re-spark a championship campaign.
Just keep it on track. Yeah, absolutely perfectly. Nailed it. It's on rails. You can see in the background, that's not even the P2 position. That is a lapped car, as you can see on the track map right there as he goes into turn 1. The famous turn 1 that's been causing a little issue from the drivers, but he's got this thing glued on rails. And another smile there for the 11 machine, as we do have RedBull going into pit road. So he's going to get his mandatory pit stop. Remember, there is a mandatory pit stop now. All these 4 drivers from 6 to down to P9, well, actually with 1 retirement. So the 3 drivers you see, 6, 7, and 8, have made their pit stop on that first lap accident. So they don't have to go back in again if they make those tyres go to the end. No problems. But these other drivers will. And that's a quick in and out pit stop there. Perfect. You can come back up into the hill, get on the power, and see the Californian driver can make his way back up, put some hot laps in there, and see how he can regain some of these positions later on as everybody else makes their pit stops. We're just on a quarter of the way, just over a quarter of the way through this race, Zach.
We are. 9 laps would have been a quarter through, but now on lap 10. So, yeah, Gregory Georgiev is going to be out there once again on some soft compound tyres, which I'm not too confident in making it to the end, so probably will maybe have to take another stop. It has just literally just been such a mismatch start all over the place with crashes and incidents and spins and overtakes and damage repairs and this, that and the other. So much has been going on in the opening moments. It is hard to keep up with, but never say never, because things can change at the drop of a pin. And probably will change at the drop of a pin. But yeah, I suppose that it's not exactly what we would have expected from the RedBull Ring, Dean. In fact, I would say it's actually quite the opposite. Usually at the RedBull Ring, we see the entire field queued up in a bit of a train, but in this one, everyone's just spaced out doing their own thing.
They are spaced out, which means that they're also not going to get that DRS activation. That's going to give you a little bit more benefit. It was very exciting, as you said at the start of the race. We'll go back and have a look at the replay of that again in a minute, while we have this big gap, as you can see, 13 seconds, 15 seconds between the drivers, and then you've got the soft runners, but they were essentially almost a lap down. Are they all on the same lap now? That's what I'm even confused. No, actually, Frank at the moment, Bees, is the only one that's a lap down. Everybody else is now on the same lap. I believe there, Zach. I'm showing the telemetry.
Yes. So everyone back onto the lead lap. As we say, apart from Frank and Jacob Beezer, one of whom is out of this race. The other was affected by some early lap damage. Well, they both were, in all fairness. Let's take a look as to what happened at the start for those just joining us. You can see Nicholas Antonenko, the 88 machine, going into turn number 1, just trying to mind his own business, but he then gets the car spin in front of him. He then comes back across, and there's nothing you can do with that. It's just a high-speed incident. You can slam on your brakes, but then you get hit from behind. You can full throttle it, but then you'll get hit into the car in front. It's just the luck of the draw. You either get through or you don't.
He survived it as well, so we'll have a look at from Troy's perspective. I think we'll do a couple of onboards. Here's Troy. Now, Troy did get collected. See, he's wisely right off the racing line, but it comes back there, gets tagged. No, actually, this is further back when Troy does. So Troy survived. These are the survivors of that first lap incident. Just having a look at anybody else that you want to have a look at, Zach, while we have a breather in the race, a little pause in the race. We'll have a look at anybody, Ria, anybody you want to have a look at from the start of the race?
Yeah, anyone we want to follow on, get some slow-mos in. I'm not entirely sure. To the 5 of you watching along, though, make sure you are sort of giving us your thoughts, feelings, queries, questions, whatever it is, because, yeah, while the racing does slow down a little bit, we still want to be sort of giving you the entertainment, and as much as myself and Biggles can chat rubbish for however long we need to, we do need a little bit of support from you guys. We don't bite, of course. We have been told not to, so do definitely give us a bit of a shout. Alexander Shana going into turn number 1, just taking a nice cautious route. Again, no one was overly aggressive, but it's right here. He avoids one, and in doing so, then actually crashes into the other, losing his front right wheel, and then losing the next one to a bit of damage. And then they all both just decide that, you know what, yeah, no, screw this, we're just going to pop off anyway. But that's the thing, no one was overly aggressive into turn number 1. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It's just, I don't know. Everyone was really cautious, which you would say is the safest thing to do, apart from maybe Frank Visa sending it late on the brakes. But I don't really see what much could have done. Yeah. And then he gets collected, goes around to the left, gets spun round. I honestly, Dino, I have got no words about that first lap incident because, again, no one really did anything silly.
No, they didn't. It's just too many cars into one. And, well, once again, they're one of the most difficult cars to drive in iRacing. So they would, during practice session and the qualifying, I didn't see that many incidents. I guess it's just those nerves, isn't it? Everybody trying to seize opportunities to get as many overtakes as possible into those turns and allowing enough space, but just cold tyres would have to put it down to, wouldn't you? Maybe the brakes were also too cold. Look at that. Maximum's flying this car around. Absolutely hammering it. Has the fastest lap too at the moment, trying to make up for it. Just got replaced by the Italian stallion. Sorry, I don't want to call him that, but he's fast. And there it is. He's actually going to get a DRS tow now from the P5 driver right here, which is the same driver that just had the fastest lap before. So they're trading it off here at the moment. They did start P1 and P2 in this race. The only difference, of course, now is the man that's on P1. The other man's in P5.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see the race that the two could have had there not been the opening lap carnage, but unfortunately for Maximilian Thiele, he had that poor start, lost 2-3 places off the line, and then of course had his spin on the outside of turn number 1. So I do hate to say it, but it kind of was his own fault in the end. But it was a shame that it happened because I think we have been robbed of what could have been a fantastic battle because their pace, as you say, virtually matched Gianluca Iliano and Maximilian Thiele, albeit maybe on a medium tyre versus a soft, but then again, maybe them softs are wearing, maybe the two tyres are at the same pace as it stands. But yeah, we have seen a bit of a robbery in terms of could have been a great race, but it's racing. It's a motor race at the end of the day. You carry that risks whenever you go out onto the circuit, and you cannot live in hindsight. You cannot live in shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You just have to live in the absolutes, in the what's happened now and how do you deal with it. Maximilian Thiele is going to be maybe trying to, at the very least, pick his way up, potentially ahead of Gregor Georgiev for 4th place incident, potentially for Yer Monte as well.
I think so. This is a turn 1. Has he gone in too deep? And oh yeah, hits the bump right there. That's the place that's for your track limits there, isn't it? And that could throw the car up. And it certainly did. Let's have a look at riding on board here for a second from its perspective. You're going to see this. Goes out too deep. There it is. Actually hits the inside chicane, throws it more out to the right, and then boom, nowhere to go. Once the rear of the car's lifted up, no traction anymore, and you're just a passenger.
Yeah, that's the thing. In W13s, you are essentially just a passenger. When things go wrong, you are a passenger. There's not much that you can do. If you spin the rears, chances are you're already too late to react. If you understeer, chances are it's going to be hard to correct it to actually reach an apex. If you brake too hard, you're going to know about it quite quickly. They're very unforgiving cars, which do makes it quite a niche market in iRacing, which is potentially why we don't see as many people compete compared to maybe the Formula 4s, the Formula 3s, or sort of GT cars or anything like that, because they are just that difficult to drive. And not only to drive, but also to drive fast. I remember taking to the W12 here at the RedBull Ring, and I was like, you know what, I'm actually driving this all right. I'm feeling in a good rhythm. And then one of the quicker guys in the session overtake me, and they just blitz past me as if I'm stood still on a corner. And you think, how? Because you already feel like you're on the limit, and yet there's still more time to be found. So for some, maybe a lack of pace could be one of the reasons why they don't potentially want to get into this car. And maybe it's just the fact that it is so difficult to drive. Talking to Ria actually in the YouTube chat, rewatching the yellow car. Potentially Frank Beazer braked way too late, hit the car on the outside, stayed on the accelerator and caught the curb or grass and spun the car. Potentially so. In regards to the one at the front, I think it might be Jacob Beazer she's referring to. Well, right on board with Frank going in, you can see just ahead, that 3-wide moment, late on the brakes. Was there contact with either of them? There it is. I honestly think that Maximilian Thiele was already going wide, But yeah, she's right that Jacob Beezer there puts the power down too early and sparks the mayhem that ensues. So fair enough, but even then, again, it wasn't like he was intentionally trying to be aggressive. It's just a cold tyre start. A 3-wide moment, it's always going to be difficult to judge. Maybe, yes, he could have backed out or something like that. Let's have a look as to sort of the line that Tile is on. Obviously, on the outside, Jacob Beezer brakes, sort of where you maybe would expect. He has still made the corner. Third gear, hits the apex, is running wide, is, if there is a car on the outside, which there is, he is always going to go into the side of them and then pins the accelerator and goes round. But let's take a look. Let's see if we can get an onboard of Tile and sort of digest how it happened from his perspective, because if he was pushed wide, then yeah, absolutely is Beezer's fault. If he wasn't, then maybe it sort of could be on his own. You can see too much wheel spin off the start on the softs, trying to get as best a launch as possible. Didn't quite work out for him. You can see it starts braking right about now, about 75 meters or so out from the corner. Is he making that? He is. 100% he's making that. And then there's just a Beezer there that sort of cuts him off. So maybe so. Maybe Rhea is right. Definitely Rhea is right. Of course she's right. It's Rhea Raccoon. But yeah, it's an easy mistake to make. But as she said herself, just easily avoidable.
There you go. Thanks for that, Win. And it's not many options, not many times that we actually get a good chance to go back and have a look at the replay in detail. Like the drivers, no doubt, will do that once again later on when they'll have a bit of a chat together and a bit of a debrief. And they'll go there and talk about that and who was right, who was wrong and all that. So we actually had a chance to go over a lot of that here in the live broadcast because, once again, there's too much of a gap in the race at the moment. You do see Tile going in and out for a quick pit stop, goes onto those medium tyres and should get out, I don't think, maybe. We'll see. Clearing at the moment. There he is, and the exit. Oh, just. But going to get this temperature into those tyres at the moment. And here's Charlotte for a run. Charlotte's got to seize this opportunity, doesn't he? Because he's got to make sure that he can't get up the temperature. But Tile's just too quick, isn't it? Considering he was putting in the second fastest lap times. And there it is.
Yeah. And to be fair, this race actually, in all fairness, has actually gone by quite quickly. But Alex Shana versus Maximilian Tile, these two looking fairly spicy. Let's see what display that we can see over the course of the next couple of laps. Of course, they are on a battle amongst themselves. Both of them, well, Shana has only taken one pit stop, so potentially could expect to see him back in again. But with only, 14 laps left to go, we are already well into the second half of this race. Not long when you think about it to go. So, plenty to sort of look forward to, I suppose, after this, with the sprint race coming up. I believe 7 laps, because it's a 10% distance race and it's a 72 lap full distance, so it would work out to be 7.2 laps. It depends whether or not they round up or down. We're going to assume they're going to round down and just give us a 7 lap sprint to the end, and of course a reverse grid, which will be an entire reverse grid of the field, well, at least those that finish anyway, which means then Luca Iliano will have to fight his way through the pack, which does open itself up to be a little bit of a recipe for disaster, Biggles.
I can't wait for it. It's a good thing about it. It's going to spice things up. So even when this race is getting a little bit of a quiet point where there's not a lot of action apart from these two drivers that you're seeing right now, but with that reverse grid, that's when it definitely gets nice and spicy. He's going to see if they're going to be looking at a repeat of what happened into turn 1 when it comes to driving over my GoPro camera at probably in excess of 200 kilometers per hour, no doubt, in this fast circuit. Yep, I'm looking forward to it, and it's a great difference, isn't it? It's a great flip up there of making your sprint race after your feature race, so that you're looking forward to it. As well as the other drivers have an opportunity, don't they, to say, okay, well, we get to race again now, and let's see how we can get some extra points in the bag after maybe not such a great first race. Nicholas goes in to pit road, as I'm going to fire that cameraman. We'll switch it over to this cameraman for his scheduled stop, and only 2 of the drivers left, which is Ileana and Troy Banks. Yeah, P1 and P2 left. Yeah. Now, will Grigor get this one or not? There's Grigor coming around now in the final corner.
He's going to miss it by a while.
Yeah.
Nicholas he's going to be staying in 4th, I think. Antonenko is going to have to build his way up to speed, but he's going to be firmly on the pace before Georgiev even has a second look at him. There is the Californian, who is going to be, closing the gap ever so slightly, but still 3 seconds adrift. As you say, still waiting for the top two of Iliano and Banks to work their way into the pit lane. You would imagine that Iliano is very, very comfortably going to be able to stay ahead of Antonenko through the pit stop phase, but Troy Banks, only 15 seconds between himself and Antonenko, could well be a very interesting prospect because, well, let's have a look actually. Let's work it out. The pit times themselves are, well, you spend 4 seconds stationary. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough time. I think I'm chatting rubbish there with Troy Banks and Antonenko potentially having a fight. He probably will settle himself behind Gregor Georgiev. Alexander Shana comes in for his second and final stop of the day as well. There is Frank Beezer, who he could well be having a good little bit of a battle with. He finds himself ahead. And, well, Shana on some soft tyres will be playing the chasing game in the final 13 and a half laps of this race.
Yeah, got to get it up to full temperature here in those tyres and just chase. 10 laps is enough. You got to catch first, get the DRS and use that to the maximum of your advantage. It's not a massively powerful DRS. Won't get the activation there because the activation point, is a little bit further back and Alexander was coming out of pit road. As you can see there, it's 1.4. Got to get down to 1. And that, yep, look at that. Absolutely trying best. Realizing he knows that this is it. This is a make or break situation here. So you are squabbling over a P6, but it's points in the season that make a huge difference. And also, oh, a little wide out into the guts. That's definitely going to cost that little bit of time to be making up again. But I don't know, you kind of think, well, I'm still on a front row for the reverse grid at this point. Oh, actually, no, because the other two drivers that are out at the moment will be on the front bit. The second row, put it that way, Zach. We'll see. 1.2. See, we're even to get temperature into the tyres down the main straight. It's almost 1 just in the bubble here. Get under that 1 second, get that DRS. It's going to help, and then we're going to have a great battle here with 10 laps to go.
We are indeed. 24 of 36. Of course, don't forget that we have got the sprint race immediately after this to see who's going to come out on top in that particular outcome. Gianluca Iliano into the pit lane for his first and final stop, you would imagine, in this race. Taking a look in terms of the points haul. For the F1 feature, it's 25 points for first place, but a slightly altered point system sees second take 22, 2018 down in a 2-point interval until you get to 12th place. That gets a lonely 2 points. Fast lap is 1 point, and if you get 0 X's over the course of the entire race, you get yourself an extra bonus point as well. For those that have no idea what I'm talking about when we come to 0 X's, it's basically iRacing's way of judging incidents. The inside line for Alexander Shana going through turn number 9, though, beautiful on the commitment and works his way up into 6th place. But back to the point, of course, with iRacing in the 0 X's, if you go off track one time, you get a 1X. You spin, you get 2X. If you have contact, you have 4X. Are there going to be any X's still out in this battle? Both of them keeping it nice and clean and both getting away scot-free in that regard. And then, of course, when we get to the F1 sprint, it's basically 12 points for a win all the way down to 1 point for 12th place. Into the braking zone, and Frank Beezer not quite close enough to find his way past the driver of Alex Shana, so he's going to have to play second fiddle and stay behind for now. But an interesting point system, and it's going to be one that allows Iliano to very much close that points deficit that he's got to Øyvind Haugland. Actually, in fairness, surpass it. So the Norwegian on his return in a couple of weeks' time is going to have to, well, really push in order to get himself back into the fight. It's really opened up the championship.
It has. It's fantastic to get a championship fight. Well, unlike the real Formula One this season, where Max Verstappen's got it in the bag, essentially. Well, probably after the next race, but yeah, anyway. But we do in this series have, as you said, a heated up championship. You can see at the moment Frank is in and out. He's out of that bubble of the DRS at the moment. I was just wondering before with that overtake, which was quite great there from Shana, but if Frank was trying deliberately, just not deliberately, but some of the points that you do is you lift off a little bit and try to get the activation by allowing the other driver to pass through. So I don't know what your thoughts would be on that one. I'm just having a look of the overtake so we can go back and just analyze it again. That's it. Pretty much looked pretty easy, even Stevens there, but It's all about the exit speed, isn't it? And then see the DRS. So he gets the DRS there because of the activation point. And then this is where Frank's going to have to send it. But has to elect off a little bit there, and that's it at that point. So there you have it. It's classic 101 overtaking, but great work. We are down now to... Oh, here's Iliano setting the fastest laps now, as he does. He just finds so much more grip towards the end of the race. Zach?
Yeah, it will be an interesting. There's Frank Beezer running a little bit wide off the exit of turn 10, maybe showing signs of high tyre deck, which, to be fair, is true around the Red Bull Ring. As you say, a lot of the corners here, apart from 2, are right-handers. So the left-hand side tyres do a lot of the work. And especially through that final corner where they are at their hottest, it will take a lot of the brunt out of the tyres. The fight for the podium, though, Antonenko and Troy Banks swerving to the right-hand side to find his way past. Uphill braking into turn number 1. Who's going to be the one to get the DRS on that run up the hill, the climb towards turn number 3? Could we see a reply from Antonenko? I don't quite think he's close enough. 3/4 of a second back. Troy Banks has got that position sealed and into third.
Acolito made a mistake. I'm just seeing a couple off tracks there earlier. Could have been one of the reasons why, but let's have a look, because Frank has regained this position too. Oh, there it is. So another spin from out of turn 1 from Shana. We saw that, didn't we? Shana's done this before, and that's allowed Frank to go back on through there. So the Bizo Racing team gets that position back with a bit of time up his sleeve as well too, to cover off there. So here it is, another opportunity for Nicholas to try to come back, but it's fallen out of the DRS now too, Zachary. So that'll be definitely another uphill battle. But once again, as we just seen, it's easy for some of those drivers to just a little bit of snap of a brake or hit the loud pedal too loud coming out of the corner and you're around. And positions will be switched through again. Nothing about race leader. It's just been absolutely flawless once again, the Italian mastermind.
Bulletproof. Completely bulletproof. Gianluca Iliano. He's just, I don't even know, he must have just had something nice for breakfast. I don't know what he has in his porridge, but I certainly do want some. His pace today has been staggering. He's been the quickest driver on track quite comfortably. His best lap time a 1:07.9. The next quickest a 1:08.3, set by the pole sitter Maximilian Thiele. But the race pace itself is still about 2 or 3 tenths a lap quicker for the Italian. So he is just very much on fire, and yeah, we'll be taking some good steps forward in the championship. Of course, there have been a couple of times where Iliano not overly on the pace, especially when Oyvind Haugland is here. The two have had a very heated rivalry throughout the season. As into the pit lane comes Frank Beezer for his final stop with 7 laps to go. Lap 29 of 36 of round 7 of the iFormula League W13 series. It is a drive-through, presumably for those track limits infringements that we spoke about.
Yeah, so just after getting that position before, now has to serve that drive-through. So this is something on the back of these drivers' minds that, because I am seeing on the telemetry, you might be seeing the same thing as well too, Zach, is that you're seeing a lot of these drivers and we're just getting notifications of off tracks, like went off track. I'm not going to show you the replay, but they're off track for a second or two. That's because they're off the off-track limits, is what I did speak about, didn't I, at the top of the show. That's one thing they do have to be very careful of. But look at the lap times there from Iliano. Like, the only man, it's a second a lap quicker for the fastest lap. Just in another league, in another zone.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I aspire to be that level. It's just, yeah, fantastic. What an interesting race it has been, though. I will be honest, because we've not really seen much in terms of on-track action apart from the opening laps and a couple of battles amongst the way, but has actually gone quite quickly in terms of the race length. We're already on to lap 30. So yeah, thick and fast these lap times, of course, understandably so. Only 1 minute and 7 in length, so it has naturally gone by quite quickly. Riding on board though with the master himself, let's take you round a tour of the Red Bull Ring here in the Styrian Mountains. Through into turn number 10 to start the lap. All about putting your foot down to the floor. You can see the MPH there in the right-hand side. The uphill climb, of course, here at the Red Bull Ring. You're looking about for the 100 board in 7th gear, maybe even a little bit later. 4th gear, hit the apex, put your foot down as well and get that rotation. You can see The car responding exactly to what Gianluca Iliano would like. Then it's the climb up through turn 2 and into the braking zone of 3, assisted by gravity, so you can brake a lot later than you think. You've got to be really careful though on that rear end, that brake-by-wire, that third gear, that apex uphill run. Being careful on the loud pedal as well, really gradually adding those inputs to allow the rear tyres to ease into it. This time though, you're going with gravity. You've got to brake a little bit earlier than you would imagine going into turn 4, though Gianluca Iliano has absolutely nailed it. Through into the infield section, through turn 5, and then the flick to the left of 6. You've got to turn quite later than you think, in fairness, because of the grip of these Formula 1 cars, and then it sets you up quite nicely for 7. Bit of a lift off, maybe a downshift if you feel like it, and then into 8. Completely flat out, use as little or as much curb as you like, just make sure you get away with it. The flick right of turn 9, where we've seen multiple incidents over the course of the years, tap on the brakes, a downshift, and then once more into the final corner of turn 10, 5th gear, and then you do it all over again on this run, only 3 kilometers I believe here in the Styria Mountains of the Red Bull Ring. Gianluca Iliano doing a brilliant job of showcasing its beauty, and yeah, an amazing circuit, it must be said, Dean.
And fantastic. I love these on-lap guides from yourself there, Zachary. It's quite good. And I like doing it from, every once in a while, from the cockpit. Frank's spending a bit of time here at the moment, so I'm just wondering what he's entered. He just entered the pit road before for that drive-through. Now he's in here for a considerable amount of time. Maybe going to have to just see, might be just sitting there at the moment for the rest of this race, because he's plumped last anyway, so it's not too much I'm going to do about it. As you can see, the other drivers will be putting another lap on him. So, unfortunately, yeah, you'd have to say that for the Bizer Racing team. Oh, he is coming back out. He is coming back out. Very long pit stop. 45 plus seconds. So, it's a minute. Yeah. Or 45 seconds stationary, Zach. So, no that was for.
Probably some damage, I'd assume. Unless he got to stop go 30.
Oh, yeah, it could have been. I'm just having a look, too, because he's got the medium tyres back on. I wonder if we switched it over and put some softs on and gone for a fastest lap. You got nothing to lose here at the moment. Fresh boots and a empty tank, essentially. But then again, I mean, this man's time, isn't it? It's just, he had to crack the 107s, and nobody even has been in that territory.
Yeah, I would say even with all things considered for Biza, no offense to him, we wouldn't get close. It's not an insult to Biza, it's more a compliment to Iliano in the sense that his time is that good. It probably won't be touched unless Maximilian Thiele goes into the pit lane and puts some soft tyres on. That's probably the only thing that will stop Iliano, but even then it will be tough. There is the man that started on pole, had a very hefty incident in the opening stages of this race, but continues on and finds his way in 5th. So a top 5 finish nonetheless, still a decent result. Just getting to the end, it just goes to show, Biggles, that you shouldn't give up because there's still points on offer.
Yeah, and I think this is probably a good idea to get him in. He should come in. Look at that. He's got a 48-second gap to P6. Do you think that's enough? That should be enough time. That's a bit tricky, right? Because your overall pit lane times that we're looking at is about 35 seconds or so, give or take. And look at I just got the fastest lap. But right now, Delay, jump in there, because he, as you said, is the only man probably out there that can touch these times. Jump in, put some fresh softs on, and go for it, because he should be back out again, so he won't lose a place, but the possibility of getting a fastest lap. What do you think, Zach? Do you think it's worth the risk? Got to do it now, wouldn't you? 34 or 36.
Well, yeah, you've got to. If you do it next lap, you'll basically ruin 2 laps worth of lap time. So if you are going to go for it, yeah, you have to do it on the penultimate lap. The lap before the last lap, and Ria Raccoon saying there's not enough laps to run the tyres. That's one way of doing it, though, throwing it away into the gravel trap. It's not going to be a position lost, albeit a heart-in-the-mouth moment. Just goes to show how
now you could
on an edge.
Now you could.
Yeah, well, might as well. You might as well.
Yeah.
Just do it. Why not?
Your tyres are already you have to cool them down anyway. They're overheated. They're full of. I mean, you get rid of the rebels. Well, the pebbles were. I can't even get that out. You know what I'm talking about, the dust and stuff like that. But it doesn't go on a pit road?
Not risking it, I don't think. Maybe not enough time. Right. Back to Shana, whatever the reason is for Maximilian Thiele. He's not overly interested. But again, just goes to show how much these cars are on a knife's edge, that if you work it just a little bit outside its window, it will snap at you.
And there's your commentator's coincidence right there, isn't it? Because we're riding on board at that point. I'd say it's commentator's curse, but... Now what are you going to say about that? Don't you worry about it. It was a coincidence.
It's not our problem We don't take responsibility for these skill issues, all right? Again, I sound really harsh saying that, but there's no such thing as the commentator's curse. It's bad luck or it's bad driving, sometimes a mixture of the both, and I'm not responsible for either of those things. If you want someone to blame, that's fair enough, but just make sure that when you go to the bathroom and you look yourself in the mirror, you know exactly who is at fault for what went wrong, and it wasn't me. But yeah, by all means, say it's the commentator's curse. Gianluca Iliano is going to spin coming out of turn 10. Watch. Oh, wait, no, he didn't.
Oh, no, you're going to see this again. Yeah, but hang on. There's the Barney waving the white flag, so it's the last lap of this race. And so Bria's going spin. But, many occasions, I don't know what it is, but I just point the camera at every single one of these drivers I'll be pointing at, and I've managed to get an incident every single time, almost every driver that I've been. Now, if you have when we're talking about a field of 30 drivers, something like that, but that's a coincidence that I happen to always have the camera on a driver that has an incident. But Rio's actually bringing up a good point out there. Not enough laps to warm the tires, yeah. But I'd say probably should have taken the pit stops a couple earlier. Because once again, those points make a big difference in the championship, isn't it? A point is it still 1 point there for the fastest lap? I'm not mistaken.
Yep, it is. So 26 points for Gianluca Iliano. Maybe not having a 0x race. To be fair, he might well have. So he might actually be able to get 27 points from this race, plus whatever he's able to pick up in the sprint. However, Gianluca Iliano, it's been faultless. The Italian, who will now take the championship lead in Oyvind Haugeland's absence. It's 36 laps of sheer dominance. The Italian crosses the line in the Styrian Mountains, victorious for the iFormula League's W13 series. Round number 7, the sprint race goes the way of the Italian. Gregor Georgiev or Troy Banks will be fighting the way for second. You can see on the final lap, look at this, it's heated into turn number 4. You can see Troy Banks trying to go the long way round. Georgiev just about able to get his nose ahead, but the number 8 machine keeps his foot on the outside, catapults himself through, but they still remain side by side going into the infield section. The sweeping nature of it allows Georgiev to potentially keep his foot in, but it's not good enough. Troy Banks into second, and a home free run for him in order to seal that second place on the podium.
Well, that battle came up very quickly, didn't it? So I wonder if somebody had made a little bit of a mistake there. Quite see that. They really did challenge it. Even caught me napping on that one. Troy Banks gets that P2, as you mentioned. What a great battle. Just another driver to come back home, actually, because the other drivers are lapped. Who would you say, I mean, driver of the day, no doubt, but would you say your second best driver of the day would be in the field, considering all the incidents that we've had?
In all honesty, it's a weird one. I'd say Troy Banks, because he's had a fairly consistent runner for me, managed to get second place, but apart from that, everyone's just sort of been on that same level. They all at some point made a mistake or something like that. They all had the carnage at the opening moments. Either way, it's resulted in these finishing positions. Gianluca Iliano nearly a lap clear of the field in first place. Troy Banks and Gregor Georgiev the podium. Nicholas Antonenko rounds off in fourth, with Maximilian Thiele from pole only fifth. Alexander Shana just in behind with Frank Biza and Yen Monte seventh and eighth. Of course, Monte not making it to the end of this race. Now, to Jacob Biza involved in the opening lap carnage. A little bit too aggressive off the start is our hypothesis, and it ended up with him now taking the final place of this 9-car grid. In a few moments' time, in precisely 4 minutes' time, we'll be getting ourselves back underway for the sprint. 7 laps of racing action. The grid flipped on its head, and we'll go again for some more stuff. Dean, well, it's been an interesting run of form. Hopefully, when they go for the 5 red lights once again, they can keep it a little bit more on the clean side.
Yeah, well, for us, entertainment-wise, we like it either way, but for the drivers, they would prefer to have it on the clean side. And let's get everybody bunched up, of course, with the sprint race there should be. You get your DRS activation a little bit. We have a little bit of a 5-minute break at the moment, so for everybody out there, as well, including the drivers, will be no doubt get up there, have a little bit of a hydration break, a little bit of a stretch, grab some fresh popcorn or whatever it is so that you can get ready, as well as we will have a quick little couple of minutes break, so don't panic if you don't hear us on the air. So, but we'll be definitely back for this one there, Zach.
The second. We've got 2 minutes until we'll get ourselves prepped up, ready to go. In the meantime, grab yourself a drink. Myself, Zach Sweeney, Dean Biggles. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to the iFormula W13 series. We're here, live from the RedBull Ring. Round number 7 saw Gianluca Iliano take the feature race victory with Troy Banks and Gregor Georgiev joining him on the podium. We're moments away from getting ourselves back underway for some more sprint racing action, so we hope you've gotten your popcorn and your drinks and you've stretched your legs, because we're about to embark on another 7 laps of racing. Hopefully, some good racing here, Dean, because, well, the grid's reversed and Gianluca Iliano wants to get as many points as he can in Haugen's absence.
He absolutely does, and he's so exciting at the moment that even with this 5-minute break that the drivers are experiencing, he went out there and put some panker laps, and he just did out there in a warm-up lap, essentially, a 108.9, so that's almost still quicker than everybody else's lap time in the main race, in the feature race that we had earlier. So still got it, and looking to now has to challenge his way through the field, as you'd mentioned. And so is Schneider out there as well too. Whoa! And that's exactly carbon copy of what Alexander has been doing, isn't it? During the previous race. It's done it again, but at least this time around it's only a warm-up. That warm-up session is finished, and let's have a look at the grid that we're going to have for our sprint race.
Jacob Beazer then, after not finishing race 1, we'll see him on pole for the sprint. Yeah, Monte will join him on row 1 with his father, Jacob Beazer, of course, not Monte's father, Frank in 3rd, Alexander Schana in 4th, Maximilian Tille from pole position in race 1 will only start 5th in 2. Antonenko joins him on row 3 with Gregor Georgiev and Troy Banks row 4, and our race winner on lowly row 5 in 9th place will start the race from the back of the grid. 7 laps then of racing here, Dean. What are we expecting?
Gianluca to slice his way through the field as much as possible. I would keep an eye on Tilte. I get that one correctly as well too. Maximilian, because I think if Maximilian can gain a couple of positions here and jump a few of those drivers off the grid. Got to get a good launch here. You saw how the starting procedures here can really make or break some of the drivers, especially up in turn 1. Well, I think it's time to go racing for our sprint race. 11 laps of fun.
Yeah, I think we are well and truly underway. Frank Beazer leads them off up the hill into turn number 1. 11 laps of action, and it's a comfortable start from Frank Beazer. Alexander Schana in 2nd, and Thiele's been able to pick his way up. We've already lost Jacob and from this race, which gives everyone effectively 2 free positions. Despite that, though, Antonenko falls his way to 7th place. Side by side in the background, you can see Gregor Georgiev and Troy Banks once again going for round 2. It's Troy Banks on the outside and Gianluca Iliano trying to get himself into the mix. Could we see the Italian go for 2 in 1 on that run? Downhill towards turn 4. Banks goes defensive. Georgiev goes to the left in order to go to the outside. It's going to be late on the brakes. Bit of contact between the two of them. What does Iliano have to say about any of this? It's not enough. He's forced to back out of it. Antonenko, though, just says, cheers, boys. Picked his way through 2 cars on that run into the infield section. Iliano, committed on the outside, sails his way to the outside, and there's contact. Potentially, Georgiev said spinning round. 720, points the right way round, and then continues on as if nothing happened. That was a very interesting incident there from Georgiev.
It was. Sorry about... We'll get the race replay there. The cameraman just decided, I am the cameraman, but elected to... One of the drivers had jumped in and out really quickly, I think, for net code or something, and then... Oh, change up the front. We'll get back to you on that one. And here we did... I did guess that here, Maximilian will be trying to put the pressure on to get the lead of this race, because that's who he wanted to be in the previous one, and at the moment, it's just got to try to dispose of Alexander. But Alexander's going to put up a nice fight here. And lurking in the background is Mr. Frank. Here they go.
Yeah, the fight between the two. The fight for the lead. Thiele finally maybe getting some redemption, but Schana is not going to give it up without a fight. The right-hand side for Schana sees him later on the brakes, but Thiele, the long way around, swoops his way through, puts his foot to the floor, and accelerates back ahead into the lead. 3 cars separated by not very much. Schana looking to go to the inside through the infield section, but it compromises his momentum, and Frank Beazer sat there waiting for an opportunity to get involved. Through 7 and 8, it's not the best of runs from Beazer. You can see there losing a little bit of momentum compared to the top 2. We were about to round off lap number 2 with Maximilian Thiele taking control early on.
And here comes the Italian for another attempt on Anton Nicholas. Oh, Jesus, I'm so bad. I apologize. Fastest lap from Troy Banks at the moment. Here we go. Classic overtake into turn 1. You've got to make it stick. Last of the late breakers. Yes, don't go out too wide and hit the rumble strip. And I'm making his way currently up 4 positions. And sitting into P5. And he is Frank at the moment. Really hounding in Schneider, but not quite yet. Oh, look at that replay. This is what happened to Grigor earlier. I don't know if that was even contact, was it? Yeah, that doesn't look like it.
Another look.
Yeah, go back in a second. I was seeing the action there. Yeah, have to go a little slower on that one now.
Was it netcode? No, he's just lost it on the curb, I think. Yeah, too much curb. Car goes round, spins it, and then, yeah, by the time he's able to catch it, he's already in the gravel. But a good catch nonetheless. Could have very easily lost the car there. Maximilian Thiele, though, stretching his legs out in front, nearly 2 seconds clear of Alexander Shiner on lap 3 of 11 here for the sprint. Setting the fast lap as well, a 107.1.
Wow.
Wow. That's quali pace.
Yes, exactly. And I'm just wondering, like, we go.
Oh.
And I'd have to say, is this the same thing that Alexander's done, isn't it? Is that turn 1 again? Oh, it wasn't actually. Oh, sorry, yes, it is turn 1. He's just lost it again. He saw that a couple of times now. It's going to lose that position. And Gianluca will seize that any day of the week.
Yeah, he's going to be loving that. Easy pickings for him. In the slipstream as well of Troy Banks. He had a bit of a look. Thought about it. Didn't go for it in the end, though. Iliano's chances of winning this race, though, are slim, I would say. Maybe second place is the ceiling for him. There's just not enough time and not enough of a pace differential between himself and Maximilian Thiele to win. We're going to see what happened to Alex Shiner. Too many beans on the exit of turn 1. Fair play to catch it and keep it off the grass, but yeah, not what you want to see at all. And thankfully, no one else was involved.
Just trying to get a little bit more of a replay on that one because not showing. There it is. Yeah, it's the same thing, carbon copy again, but now because he's done it so many times, he knows how to snap it and get back on to the track as quickly as possible. And now tucked up on the gearbox with the Italian, but look at this. He's going for a last to first challenge at the moment. Well, I don't think he can match, isn't it? Thiele's performance pace. Even if he gets a couple of these overtakes, look who's coming back in the background. So this is great. He's got Iliano has to dispose right now of Troy Banks as quickly as possible. Otherwise, he's going to be towing along Alexander in the background here.
Yeah, side by side. Gianluca Iliano going the long way round once again into turn 4. Seems to be a popular choice. He's kept his foot in and again takes second place. But Alexander Shiner, yeah, doing a good job, recovering well from that spin and still fighting for a podium. We've now got half of the sprint race to see Gianluca Iliano close a 6-second gap to Maximilian Thiele. I would say it's probably not going to be very likely, especially if Troy Banks and Alexander Shiner keep him on his toes in that DRS and slipstream train. Into turn 9, you can see how much more track the top 2 in front are taking to Shiner. Definitely does seem to be struggling a little bit, pushing maybe a little bit too hard in order to keep up.
This is what brings me back to before with Thiele. Like, I honestly think he probably should have boxed a couple laps earlier and gone for the fastest lap. He clearly has the pace. We kind of saw that in feature race, thinking, you know, Iliano had the quickest lap on that one, but he did have it, and so that could have been an extra point. See if you get a chat to the driver about that post-race interviews or not. But this is the... Ooh, that looks like... Schneider did make a little bit of an error coming out of that turn, and so therefore... I don't think Troy Banks is going to give this one up. He has to utilise and keep within that DRS range, the Georgian driver. As Frank Visa had gone into the pits, and Jacob's out, and... Montiel is out, so unfortunately for the Visa racing team, it's not the best of days here today in Austria.
No, it doesn't seem to be, and sometimes it can be tricky for them. Just maybe not quite on the pace. Troy Banks, though, giving Gianluca Iliano a really good fight. Look at the speed, bit of hybrid deployment for sure, alongside the DRS and slipstream, side by side through turn 1. Gianluca Iliano pushed off the road, rejoins, still side by side. He's forced to back out of it, though, but he's definitely still going to have a run. You can see Troy Banks using all of his hybrid energy on that run into turn number 3 in order to keep it. But now the championship leader, the newfound championship leader, will have the DRS and a better run through turn number 3. Will we see once again another change for second? Indeed, indeed we will. Gianluca Iliano pushes the button and finds his way back up in a second. A brilliant battle between these two.
Yeah, utilising that, as you said, that battery deployment was definitely there, and that also means you've just emptied the tank out, and this is where Iliano's probably disposed of his battery and gets the overtake done. Hopefully to see a little bit more fun racing. Actually bring Schneider back into play here too, with that fight going on up the road. See that replay again of that one. That was actually quite fun to watch. Because Troy Banks had basically said it went off track here. Oh, that wasn't there. This is the other situation. This was the overtake. Done, hopefully, from the chopper camera. She said, favourite move around the outside, isn't it? Turn 3, up the top of the hill. And then bingo. Doesn't get the DRS. You get the double DRS activation, don't you, actually, if you can trigger it correctly? Oh. Back to the live pitches. And
side by side for third place. Alex Shana on the inside for Lumo Seas Motorsports. Finds his way past Troy Banks in a spectacular move for the fight for third. So Gianluca Iliano running away with things. Maybe Troy Banks doing too much too early. They followed each other off the road though in magnificent fashion and then rejoined. Still only half a second between the two.
It's a carbon copy. So you're racing the car, using the car as a racing line rather than the racing line that should be in your head. Let's have a look at that. Oh, this was the overtake earlier. That's the one where we got pushed off a little bit on the outside, but this is when they went off the track here. I think there. Yep, that's the carbon copy, isn't it? Driver behind's following the car. Happens even in the real life motor racing.
Yeah, it does. It's easy done because it's target fixation, essentially. You look forwards and you're following a car so closely that you're essentially trying to copy what they're doing. Or while you're looking at them so intently that you end up copying what they're doing. It's an easy habit to fall into, one that you do have to be quite mindful of. At lap 9 of 11, and Troy Banks is fighting away with Alex Shana. Still, this battle continues with no other ones out there on circuit. Maximilian Thiele is going to be looking to take the victory. As it stands as well, the fastest lap, a 1:71, which is incredibly quick and a true showcase of what definitely is his raw and very real speed.
Sort of admire how much of a difference one race can make, isn't it? And that's up 4 positions as well with the reverse grid. And crucial to get that overtakes done early, right? So you can get up the road there and maintain that gap to our championship leader. Just appears in the background right now, as we are on about to start the final lap. You should see Barney waving that flag in a bit. Here's your series of your only 2 left-handers here. This is where it's very, very punishing on your left-hand tyres on this track. Right. See Troy Banks a little bit of an error there as well. Troy Banks did actually background, just dropping a little bit in and out of the DRS. But here he is, our race leader for this sprint race. We'll see the white flag, and for the final time, turn 1. The notorious turn 1's been catching the drivers off. Brakes at the 50, gets on the power early, keeps it straight, which is crucial. And then your little kink up here to turn 2. 7th gear. Yeah, probably hit the rev limiter just before your braking point at 50 here. Swinging around. And, well, you went through the lap guide before with Mr. Zachary, so it's again showing you another way of getting it done on the track. Fastest lap.
Yeah, it's just so quick. And Iliano's been able to close the gap to now 4.5 seconds. So definitely a showcase of speed, but unfortunately not enough to topple Maximilian Thiele, who's got about half a lap left to go here for the sprint race of the iFormula Leagues W13 series. Again, here at the RedBull Ring in the Styrian Mountains, round number 7 of this magnificent championship, and still plenty more to come after this as well. Still plenty of racing to divulge in a very heated championship. But in isolation, it's Maximilian Thiele in the 34 machine that takes the victory in the sprint race here in Austria, followed very nicely by Gianluca Iliano, who once more extends the championship lead after taking it in race 1 from Oyvind Haugland, and he takes second place with Alexander Scharner rounding off the podium here in the sprint race. Troy Banks and Antonenko will round off the top 5 with Gregor Georgiev and Frank Bieser 6th and 7th. Not starting this race was Jacob Bieser and Yen Monte, unfortunately not overly interested in the sprint race, or maybe just closed eye racing. And just didn't really want to partake in the rest of the evening, which is fair enough. As it stands, we here at Austria will go to Jerez in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks after that, we'll go to Watkins Glen, to Canada for the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Road America for the Northern Grand Prix, and then we round off the season on the 4th of November at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, better known as Interlagos. But here in the Red Bull Ring, it's Maximilian Thiele, Gianluca Iliano and Alexander Scharner, the podium of the sprint race. Troy Banks, Nicholas Antonenko in 5th, with Gregor Georgiev, Frank Bieser, Jacob Bieser and Yen Monte rounding off our very small 9-car field. Here for the iFormula W13 series. We are expecting more drivers to return in 2 weeks' time when we do go to the circuit Jerez. But in the meantime, that's all we've been able to really roll with, unfortunately, Dean. But despite that, was a very interesting evening of racing.
What it was, wasn't it? The first race was very, very interesting. First time we had a caution car come out there with 4 cars with a lot of damage in that sprint race. I'm loving Interlagos, of course. That's just fantastic. I mean, unfortunately, you're not going to see the rain. A track notoriously does get a lot in Brazil. I'm just waiting to see if any of the drivers want to come on a bit of a quick chat, because they've had their little bit of a break between previous race and this race. So I would imagine you need to be running to the bathroom or anything. But that's your feature race results up there currently on the screen. That dominating form from the Italian, and then of course back to our sprint race. Apologize, it will say Heat 1 and feature, but that is actually the sprint race right there, and that's the results for the second race. So almost absolutely maximum points, isn't it, from Italiano again, and seizing his chance now as the championship leader. We do have somebody in for an interview if you want to pull them in. I think that will be Maxi.
Yeah, Maximilian Thiele, the 34 machine and the winner of this sprint race. Unfortunately, race 1 didn't quite go to plan. Talk us through that opening lap incident, Maximilian, because it seemed to be sort of not really your fault. You seem to be more on the cautious side going into turn number 1, and just unfortunately got caught up in an incident.
Yeah, definitely. And also, first of all, shout out to you guys for delivering such an amazing broadcast week after week. And yes, like you said it, into turn 1, I had a really bad start, and then I got caught up into Jacob's move. I think he had an amazing move there, but unfortunately no space for us too. And after that, it was just trying to hunt down any position I could score. But it was a fun race, indeed.
And then the sprint race, talk us through that one, because obviously from 5th place on the grid, you got a much better start this time round, didn't get involved in any incidents, and was able to take the win. So all in all, the pace definitely was here at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, definitely. I practiced a lot, and it paid off. And also in the sprint race, the start was much better. And after that, it was I don't want to say a walk in the park, but it was quite nice to drive without any incidents in that one for sure.
Yeah, all by yourself. Well, a couple of weeks' time, we'll go to Spain. The Circuit Jerez is next up on the calendar. How do you sort of rack up your chances? Are you feeling confident?
Unfortunately, I have to miss that race because I'm on a birthday party. But I hope for the next one I will be there, and also fighting with the guys at the front again for some podium places.
That's true. Well, fingers crossed. Thank you for joining us, Maximilian. Before we let you go, go on.
Yeah, but we got one quick question. I was just going to ask, in that previous race, you had a 30-something second gap, I believe it was, over Schneider, Alexander. So we were kind of just wondering whether or not you would risk it by jumping in a couple of laps earlier there, putting some fresh softs on and going for the fastest lap.
Yeah, that would have been a possibility. I didn't think about that at all. I saw that I was closing in on the guy in P4, and I was trying to get to him, and then I made a mistake and spun off. But yeah, otherwise I think that would be a possibility. I will keep that in mind for sure. Yeah.
We didn't think Eddie, you would be able to match the 107 clubs of Iliano, but after this race, it proved you had clearly the pace there, but 107.2 actually in this race. So blisteringly quick. That was probably the quickest lap, I think, of the whole race. Anyway, thank you very much for that. And yes, once again, Zach was going to ask you, anybody would you like to thank?
Yeah, thank you guys, and I will take some dinner now.
Fair enough. Go get yourself some victory food, Maximilian. Thank you for joining us, and well, we'll see you when we head to Watkins Glen then. Have fun at your birthday party.
Yeah, thank you, and take care.
Take care. You too. Next up, Gianluca Iliano, the number 11 machine, is next in the commentary booth. Gianluca, a great evening for you. A win and a second place. Seemed to be a fairly good evening. I mean, that goes without saying. The pace was mega. And with Oyvind not being here, it means you've taken some good steps in terms of the championship. You now lead the way.
Yeah, it was a pretty good Saturday for me. I wish we had a bit more drivers because the Red Bull Ring is a very good track for fighting, so you can actually fight for position and have some nice battles. But yeah, I got a clean start. I was very good at the start again, and lucky for me, behind me there were some crashes. So maybe also a reminder to everybody that you can't win a race in turn one. So let's try to have fun together for a bit longer than the first corner.
Yeah, that's probably quite true. I mean, you saw it all in your rearview mirror, and I'm sure you weren't exactly loving it. I mean, again, I suppose you were. Winning the race by 50 seconds isn't a bad thing, but I'm sure you would have enjoyed a bit more of a fight, which you did have over the course of the sprint. You had Troy Banks and Alex Shana giving you a good little bit of a battle all the way through.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good in the sprint. I got caught up in a few battles in the back, so I couldn't catch up very quickly. But overall, everybody was fighting and defending, so it was really, really nice. So the sprint was fun. The feature race, a bit less so, but of course, I'm glad to have won that.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Well, couple of weeks' time, we'll go to Jerez for the Spanish Grand Prix on the 30th of September. How do you rack up your chances? Haugland will be back, so your championship rival will return. Do you think you can extend the championship lead when we go to Spain?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no experience on that track, so we'll see. It's going to be a first for me.
Well, best of luck. I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you get up to speed. Just make sure you're not too quick and run away with things. Hopefully Haugland can keep you nailed down and give us an interesting battle when we battle our way through. Before we let you go, though, Gianluca, any shout-outs you want to be giving to the YouTube chat?
Yeah, as usual, thank you all for organizing this, and shout out to Maximilian. He had amazing pace. It was fun to battle for qualifying, but it was just too fast.
Yeah, he was a very, very quick driver pretty much all evening. Unfortunately, got caught up in that incident. But thank you for joining us, Gianluca. Take care, and we'll see you back in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye.
And you, Gianluca, the, of course, new championship leader, the Italian. Very, very fast driver and looking very strong in the championship, Dean. All in all, a decent evening of racing and looking forward for the future.
It was fun, and it was wrapped up perfectly to what you had to say. Gianluca that had said, you can't win a race in the first turn. That goes to show it, isn't it? So thank you, Zach. That's it. All right. We'll lay down before our next race.
Yeah, a little bit of a break. Couple of weeks. Well, to be fair, a couple of weeks is fairly normal. We've got just a few more rounds. As I say, we've got Jerez, Watkins Glen, the Circuit de Villeneuve, Road America, and Interlagos to round off the season in about a month and a half's time. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to round up our coverage of the iFL W13 series. If you want more of these guys, do tune in tomorrow for their Formula 3 series, which will be taking to the Red Bull Ring as well. And also, if you're not done with some Formula open wheel stuff this evening, do stick around in the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and turn the bell on for notifications, because in just over an hour, myself, Zach Sweeney, and Dean Biggles will be going again for the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship, which will be a very interesting display of racing action. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, we'll bid you farewell for now, but in the couple of weeks break between now and the next round, we hope you take care and, well, a very warm goodbye.